A'ja Wilson 1, Napheesa Collier 2, Sabrina Ionescu 3, Breanna Stewart 4, Alyssa Thomas 5, and honorable mentions, Caitlyn Clark.
Have you noticed what just occurred? Caitlyn Clark's name is nowhere near the top of the WNBA MVP ranking. How could that be? Almost no attention is being paid to the rookie superstar who has been setting records and lighting up scoreboards throughout the season. This is where things start to get interesting, though. The front runner at the moment, A'ja Wilson, may be feeling the heat because Clark is really valuable to her squad when you look at the numbers. We're going to explain why basketball fans around are furious over this snub. Despite being a rookie on a club that isn't full of all-stars, she is leading the WNBA by a considerable margin in terms of points generated, which is defined as points scored and/or points assisted. Since this MVP ladder is creating a lot of controversy in the WNBA, let's dismantle it. A'ja Wilson is seated at the top, looking really good. There are no surprises there, are there? All season long, she has been in control. It cannot be debated. You must say, of course, A'ja Wilson is winning MVP if you even bring up the subject. Like, unless you start out by saying, well, I already know that A'ja Wilson won, you can't even have a productive debate about MVP. That's the norm, you know. Napheesa Collier comes next, moving into second place. She makes a significant effect and dominates the game whenever she is on the court for the Minnesota Lynx. She is a silent murderer who never fails to leave her mark. Additionally, Napheesa has the ability to seize control of the game at any moment. This is something we've witnessed her do several times. Though she shouldn't be, Sabrina Ionescu is staying steady at number 3 with Alyssa Thomas and Breanna Stewart completing the top 5. But hold on a second, Caitlyn Clark, the rookie who has been tearing up the league, isn't included in the top 5. Is it not unbelievable? Caitlyn Clark is the honorable mention, according to Thomas. Hold on, how is she going to be reduced to the honorable mention category? This must be a mistake, you may think, but it's not. The MVP ladder currently looks just like that. On their website, they revealed this information about Clark. During the first month of the illness, Caitlyn Clark experienced understandable difficulties. Indiana has a 1-4-6 record for the season after 20 games, including 2 decisive victories during the All-Star break. As a creator and facilitator, Clark has discovered a level of ease on the floor and a synergy with her colleagues. She is banging on the door of the first team, which finished in the top 5 in the MVP voting in All-W. Did you hear the first team's door being knocked on? Not in my opinion. It's not just knocking Caitlyn Clark. She ought to be there already. Indeed, Caitlyn Clark, A'ja Wilson, and Napheesa Collier should all be in the top 3 for MVP. And this assertion is amply supported by the statistics. Take a look at their statistics. A'ja uses both of them to wipe the floor. 3-point percentage, free throw percentage, and assists are the only areas in which she is lacking. All of those belong to Caitlyn. She and Napheesa are tied for the most thefts. Let's be honest. Without a question, A'ja Wilson was remarkable. However, in crucial areas like assists, free throw percentages, and 3-point percentages, freshman Caitlyn Clark did better than her. She even had the record for assists. Clark was anything but ordinary, as seen by her indisputable contributions to the court. What gives then? Why is Clark being ignored in this way? Everyone is having trouble understanding it. Some claim that the league prefers more seasoned players because she is a rookie. Some contend that statistics alone don't provide a whole picture. Definitely a conversation. It is imperative that she be included in the discussion. Not everyone is ignoring this snub. People like Rachel Demita are criticizing the WNBA's MVP selection method, which is intensifying the dispute. According to Demita, the markers for acknowledgement appear to shift each time Clark elevates her performance. But they seem to be holding this rookie to unachievable expectations, which makes it much more difficult for her to receive the credit she deserves. Caitlyn's goalpost is still moving. They seem to be shifting their expectations depending on how well she performs or what she needs to do to even be in the top 5, as stated in this article. Let's discuss about WNBA rookie MVPs. In the history of the league, how many have there been? Only one. Yes, exactly. Only Candace Parker in 2008 has ever taken the top rank in more than 25 years. First-year players can't be the most valued, as if there were an unspoken rule. However, why? Do they lack experience? Are they too inexperienced, or is it just veteran bias? Some contend that rookies shouldn't be considered for MVP since they require time to develop and establish themselves. However, see what Clark is doing. She's performing admirably for a rookie. Simply put, she's playing well. And Skip Bayless provides an excellent explanation. Additionally, Caitlyn is the only player in the league that can flick logo threes with ease. I apologize. The time for Rookie of the Year is on the horizon. Suddenly, Caitlyn Clark is beginning to challenge A'ja Wilson for this league's MVP award. And I'm not making this up. I don't see anyone dominate a game like Caitlyn does. Thus, she is beginning to promote A'ja as the league's greatest player. We should go back to Candace Parker. Do you recall the time she did the unimaginable? She won more than just Rookie of the Year. She won the MVP award as well. It was revolutionary. Parker was dominating the court like a seasoned pro, scoring 18.5 points per game. Let's now contrast her and Clark's statistics. This is going to blow your head, I promise. She scored 18.5 points per game on average. At the moment, Caitlyn's average is higher than that. Candace has far more rebounds. Take a peek at these more statistics. On average, Caitlyn is making more three-pointers, assists, steals, and free throws per game. Candace Parker isn't a point guard either, so she's a 4. This is where things get insane, though. Parker's rookie season isn't the only one Clark is matching. In several sectors, she is establishing new standards. She has incredible all-around skills. She is more than just a scorer. She is improving her team as a whole. And that is the role of an MVP, isn't it? If not posting better numbers, Caitlyn is right there, compared to Candace's freshman campaign. There's more to becoming an MVP than just numbers you might be thinking, even though the figures are outstanding. And you would be entirely correct. Being the MVP involves more than just having the best stats. It's about leadership, influence, and game-changing. Clark's narrative becomes much more intriguing at that point, though. Let's just say that the figures don't fully capture the extent to which she has changed her team. She is influencing her group, that her team has no one else in the league. Last year, this team had a 13-27 record. All of a sudden, the Indiana Fever are the league's most popular team. Could Parker's accomplishment be repeated by Clark? This year, may we witness another rookie MVP? It's not merely possible the way she's playing. We're being forced to reconsider what a rookie in this league is capable of. Are we prepared to remove these outdated restrictions and evaluate players only on their impact independent of their background? These are the concerns raised by Clark's season, and the responses could have a permanent impact on the WNBA. Can a single player truly change an entire team, you ask? In fact, Caitlyn Clark did just that to the Indiana Fever. The Fever were having a lot of trouble before the All-Star break. Supporters were becoming disillusioned. Then, however, an amazing thing occurred. The Fever, who finished bottom in the WNBA previous season, had no players who represented Team USA, and the Minnesota Lynx not so much. Additionally, Caitlyn Clark is putting up crazy numbers following the Olympic break. Did you notice that? The Fever had an incredible run after the break, winning 14 games and losing just 6. Suddenly, the team at the bottom of the standings rose to prominence as one of the league's most attractive teams. What was different? Caitlyn Clark, not only did this youngster score points, she improved everyone in her vicinity. The Fever gained energy, self-assurance, and, to be honest, entertainment value. She led the Indiana Fever to their first postseason appearance since 2016. Clark's influence extends beyond the win-loss record. She has improved the entire franchise by altering the Fever style of play. And you begin to question why she doesn't rank second or third in the MVP discussion when you contrast her accomplishments with those of a team with stronger players. It's also fair to say, player, that the Aces have a loaded squad. 4 of the women on that team were members of Team USA. It resembled A'ja Wilson nearly exactly. Wasn't doing anything for her team, especially with a number of Olympic teammates and well-known athletes in her immediate vicinity. A'ja Wilson was MVP numerous times, twice. Are they back-to-back? No. Last year, she didn't prevail. Okay, so they won back-to-back titles while she was on a strong squad. Yes, consecutive championships. This female is coming along and doing something different from what she usually does. None of the pieces that she possesses are hers. She can perform her duties more easily as a result. There is no pressure on A'ja to perform her duties. She can also play a field game and have an off night. Let's consider the bigger picture. The Fever were occupied with changing their own narrative while other teams continued to play at their typical tempo. This type of reversal is hardly a coincidence. The ability to fully transform a team's culture requires a unique type of player. What does this signify for Clark's MVP case? You ask yourself. It's significant. When voting for MVP, team performance is a major consideration. Voters consider more than just individual statistics. They are interested in how a player improves their team. Clark's case for MVP simply became much stronger by that metric. Does she currently outperform Nafisa Collier and Caitlyn Clark as a player? Indeed. Does she contribute more to her team than Nafisa Collier and Caitlyn Clark? I'm unsure about it. And that's where we can begin this discussion. The figures are honest. This rookie has accomplished something quite noteworthy. Hold on, though, for there is yet more to this story. There are still those who contend that individual performance is more important than team performance. Let's examine those figures to determine how Clark actually compares to the others. Caitlyn Clark is at the center of the WNBA's intensifying MVP argument. We are reconsidering our assessment of the league's players in light of this situation. What is the big deal then? Clark has had a significant influence on the Indiana Fever. She is altering the game for her squad and putting up incredible numbers. However, the statistics of other MVP contenders are also amazing. In what way do we contrast them? According to some, it all comes down to being the best player statistically. Others contend that the issue becomes complex when it comes to who has the greatest influence. Therefore, it's possible that the MVP category just depends on your perspective. Do you believe that A'ja Wilson, who is currently the league's greatest and most talented player, deserves the title that is rightfully hers? Or do you think that she is the most valuable and influential member of the team? And perhaps we will continue to have this amicable argument until the end of time. In the NBA, it occurs frequently. That it's taking place here is fantastic. Let's take a moment to discuss Clark's statistics. In important measures like assists and points per game, she leads the league. She seems to be playing at a completely different level. But here's the thing, some people claim that these figures are insufficient. Do you think that's possible? The fact that Caitlyn leads the WNBA in points generated, that is, points scored and/or points assisted, is another factor that makes her extremely valuable. Despite being a rookie on a team that isn't full of all-stars, she is leading the league by a sizable margin. This is where things start to get interesting, though. What if, when selecting the MVP, we're not considering the correct factors? Some believe that a whole new method of player evaluation is required. They are looking for something that takes into account each player's performance, the team's success, and the game's overall influence. This argument is far from finished. It's really just getting started. A more thorough method of choosing the MVP is being demanded by many. They contend that rather than focusing only on wins or statistics, we must take the big picture into account. Currently, it appears that the planned adjustments are intended to keep Caitlyn Clark from taking home the honor. However, I do believe we should offer Caitlyn Clark greater respect because the goalpost is always shifting at this point. What do you think then? Should the player with the best stats win MVP? Who is altering the game itself or who contributes more to their team's victory? The Caitlyn Clark case is forcing us to consider the WNBA's player value in some significant ways. And what do you know, this discussion has been going on in the NBA for years. Here is a breakdown of Caitlyn Clark's amazing season. And what do you know? The discussion on MVP is far from over. Clark is altering the game, not just increasing numbers. After the All-Star break, do you recall how she changed the Fever from the worst to the first? That alone is MVP material. The true question, though, is this. Are we misinterpreting MVPs? Perhaps it's time for a change. Should we be more interested in a player's ability to change their team than in their numbers? Clark is forcing us to reconsider our preconceived notions about worth in the WNBA. However, please share your thoughts with me. How should MVP honors be evaluated, in your opinion? Should it be determined by your ability level as the top basketball player, your stat lines, or your talent lines, or your talent level? Or should it be more in line with your influence on a team, in your opinion? To what extent do you contribute to a team? How is the performance of your team? What do you think then? Is a new method of selecting MVPs needed, one that considers the big picture? Statistics, the effect on the team, and altering the game itself. Because if we don't adapt, we might not be able to spot the next big thing. And isn't that the main goal of the MVP award?